You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today I've got Udayan from NetElixir, longtime friend, and just kind of a leader in this space as a whole. And we were having a conversation. He actually sent me a pre-publication around generative AI. And so kind of the title of this one that we're going to get into is just unlocking the business value with generative AI. I think a lot of people out there have done a lot of podcasts recently on AI as a whole, because as a whole, people are looking at this space, trying to understand how can I implement it on a personal side, on a professional side, what makes sense, what doesn't. That's why we have a couple around, Microsoft Copilot as well. And so, but Udayan, it's been a long time. I don't know, 8 years now, it seems like forever.
Yeah, forever now, Aaron. I guess has been a while now.
When we were going through the quarterly catch up around what's going on in e-commerce, I mean, that's been going back since before COVID, I think, at this point in time.
Yeah. I mean, it seems like a whole different world altogether, right? I mean, we have seen it all.
I think we're gonna have to get to the point where it's not going to be a quarterly update. It'll probably have to be like a monthly update. But anyways, I'll kick it. You want to introduce yourself, the NetElixir,
Sure.
Also what you're doing on the research side. That'd be great.
Absolutely, Aaron. First of all, thank you so much for having me on this podcast. And I know we just completed about 8 or 9 years of our friendship. I've lost count, which I think is great. I run a digital marketing firm. We are making this unique transition from being a classic performance marketing agency, which has worked over the last 21 years now with a lot of mid-sized and large e-commerce companies, primarily in the retail and the B2B e-commerce space. And currently we work with a little over 200 companies, mostly mid-sized e-commerce retailers. And we are really going through a massive, massive transformation ourselves from being a performance marketing agency to being an AI-first digital agency for the e-commerce brands. And that's a pretty big sort of a statement to make. But I think through this conversation, hopefully, we'll be able to discuss some of these parts as to what are some of the struggles, what are some of the challenges, what is some of the process, and how we are really looking at things in building what we believe is going to be really leading the future of advertising agency world, essentially in this AI-first landscape.
So I probably have 30 questions coming out, but I want to stay on this topic, and then maybe we just have another podcast, because I have a lot of conversations and help a lot of people with agency selection as a whole, and new tech selection, and the newest things that are coming out. And it's just very interesting because I mean, you just said it, everything's going to drastically change, and you're you've got 2 decades of history that you're saying I have to fundamentally change everything on. And then, that conversation around what do brands, the annual effort, and sometimes more often than not, to go through an RFP, the hardest thing to ask, and this is part of the reason I kicked this, this networking group off, was I didn't know the questions to ask. And so I got burned on an integrator. I got burned on a web dev firm, an Amazon agency, all these different things, because I didn't know the questions to ask. But that can be another whole podcast where you can kind of walk us through everything there. But let's go back to the generative AI piece, right? And unlocking business value. What do brands need to know? And then we can talk about kind of this pre-published paper right now. I'm just going to let you kind of guide the conversation from, I'll kind of, I guess, asking questions, but I'm going to kind of throw it over to you. Would just love to hear your thoughts about.
Yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about the paper that you are referring to, Aaron. So it is still in the pre-publication phase. So we were one of the industry collaborators of Rutgers University, which is in New Jersey, as you know, the State University of New Jersey. And essentially, we worked with their professor, Jim Samuels, and his team, and trying to really quantify the value in very specific ROI terms, which people or companies can get and derive by implementing generative AI solutions. Now, again, I think it's important for me to really break down and just simplify this concept of generative AI, because that's, I think, what has really made AI glamorous. So AI has been there for a fair amount of time now. And I think we, in fact, started at NetElixir. We built our own AI lab back in 2017 at our India office. But we started working on machine learning algorithms. So it was like machine learning was our focus. Uh, I don't know whether it can be classified as AI as we know it. Definitely not generative AI. So it's much more of a verticalized AI. Verticalized AI is essentially you are working within a very defined set. So it's almost like a one-to-one solution. And let us say I'm using your data set to build a solution which addresses one or more of your problems. So I'm just talking about a very verticalized, almost like an individualized implementation. Generative AI essentially took the entire AI concept into a different level altogether by horizontalizing this entire thing. So it became much more of a widely available, accessible horizontal AI, which means that it is able to access publicly available data and it is able to make those inferences based on that. So that's, I think, in very simple terms, the difference between the vertical AI, which primarily it was machine learning, and in terms of horizontal AI, which is the LLMs and so on, essentially built on it, accessing the data and being able to really predict as to what is the next word that you are going to be typing in. Right? It's just a, uh, I mean, we can really go back to all these discussions about neural networks, et cetera, but just a fast learning, think of it as a very smart assistant that you suddenly were able to work with. So when the professors presented this idea of the project, the idea of the project essentially was there are very few cases in the industry, and there were a lot of questions that there are a lot of questions which are still being asked, whether AI has really driven any measurable ROI for businesses. Now, there is this obviously paper by Goldman Sachs and some of the other companies as well, where it's sort of that's getting questioned. In fact, McKinsey had a great paper which came out fairly recently as well. It's really difficult to quantify that. So that's the bit of a thing. We wanted to see if the quantification is possible. And the quantification is possible not only in terms of just the efficiency gains that we are able to get, but also quantification, is it possible by maybe new jobs which really arise that have a much higher value in terms of the economic value contributed and so on and so forth as well. So that was our contribution essentially, because we have uh, at NetElixir in the last 2.5 years now, we sort of got in pretty early, Aaron. So I told you about the machine learning piece. We built our lab, and what our machine learning platform, Elixir Insights, does, it is able to access first-party data, combine it with overall the customer journey data to understand effectively buying patterns. And we are able to then use our algorithm to really segment those customers into high value, mid value, and low value segments, convert them into audience signals, and then find lookalikes on Google and Meta. And then we started adding predictive analytics. So we are able to predict which of your customers is likely to churn, which of the customers is likely to again make a repeat purchase in the next 2 months, what is their estimated lifetime value, and whole sort of things. Right. So that was machine learning, and we were able to solve one classic problem in the retail e-commerce space. As I mentioned, we work with a fair number of retail e-commerce companies. We were able to solve a problem that uh, effectively a small percentage of all the shoppers drive a big chunk of revenue. And we were able to use machine learning and predictive analytics to identify as to who these shoppers are, what are the traits of these high value shoppers, and win more lookalikes, like folks who look like that. And the process through which we did that is what we call the AI powered experimentation. So we are injecting AI audiences into Google, breaking them into different campaigns, and then we are able to identify and win a different type of customer essentially. So that's, I think, just in a summary or a nutshell what we were already doing. So when ChatGPT, and you would remember ChatGPT 3 was launched end of November in 22, we got in pretty early in Jan. And at that point in time, we just sort of dived in without really knowing as much. And we dived in with the thesis that why don't we really take a collective approach in seeing if there is a better way of doing things, right? So better way of doing things, we again went back to very first principles, Aaron. And we says that, can we really work backwards from what is the output we are looking at? So let us say this is the output looked at. And is there a faster way and a better way or more efficient way of achieving that output? Uh, and let us see as to how much time saving is really sort of brought in. So I still remember having this conversation in the month of Feb at our product innovation lab. And there the conversation was, for example, let us say something like Google Ads management. Uh, Typically, a Google Ads management, when you are launching a new campaign, has about 43 different steps. And we had documented all of these in SOPs and so on and so forth, since we have been doing it for almost like, at that time, 18 years then, 18 or 19 years then. And we said that let us analyze the workflows and let us try to understand as to what are the tasks which are there in the workflows. For example, let us say launching a Google Ads campaign and till the time it is live has about 43 different steps. So it's or different tasks, so as to say. Then we said that do we really need 43 tasks or can we really achieve the same output uh, maybe with fewer number of tasks? So the first stage was something called the workflow rationalization. We said that, it can be done with 37 tasks and without really compromising on the output per se. So that was, I think, the first big gain. We were able to really streamline the workflows and make it more, let us optimized. And then we said that which of these tasks can be done better by if we are able to really bring in AI and combine it with our proprietary knowledge as to how we have been doing this task for the past 18 years or 19 years. And then we are able to build our own privacy layer or security, basically the RAG layer, essentially, because we are working with a lot of customers and we have a lot of confidential data. We don't really want to, in any point in time, that data security is huge. And being a GDPR compliant company, it was also mandatory for us as well. So all of this stuff we sort of went through and we decided to run a test. It was typically, I think, building that RAG layer took at about 6 months. Identifying those tasks, etc., happened at the parallelly at that same time as well. And then I think in October or November of 2023, we started really sort of building a platform, almost like with the ambition of converting it into a marketing operating system. So think of it as a campaign management system or a marketing operating system, whereby you really have all of this AI embedded. So instead of just think of it electricity, AI is powering that. AI is basically the LLMs that we are talking about. So we got access to one OpenAI and the second one is Gemini. And we have our team has the flexibility of choosing one of these. And then we really brought in our IP, let's say, how we had been doing that particular task. We really built a certain module around that. So each one of them became a product module. And then we tested it out for, it took us about a year to build. So we were able to complete that by November of 2024 last year. We finally did some tests for about 2 months and then really launched it within the company in Jan or Feb, I think Feb beginning of 2025 is when we launched it. In the last, I think 2 or 3 months itself, we were able to get a 30% time saving. So lesser time for doing and producing the same output. So that was, I think, a key learning. But what did we do with this increase in efficiency of 30%? That's a pretty big number. We essentially started 2 brand new departments altogether, Aaron. The first department was experimentation. So as I mentioned, that thankfully we had invested in building our own machine learning platform. So it has become, I think, one of the most robust strategic AI-powered experimentation platform. And we were essentially moving some of the team members to that new department. And they were excited because they got an opportunity to really use our core machine learning platform, Elixir Insights, to identify new customer value, literally. So that, I think, was one area. And the second area was we also sort of built a process engineering department, which is the one which is connecting actual account management to the development side, helping us really evolve and build this marketing operating platform that we call Elixir GPT. So we didn't really have to change or reduce the workforce at all. We really had to shift and create new tasks and so on. So that was my input to the professors, essentially. I think it's easy for companies to reduce headcount very easily because that's very tangible, measurable, and so on. But I think it's a big responsibility that every companies have to identify what are the new tasks or jobs to be done, which are really emerging, and really invest heavily in terms of uh, really growing and evolving that, because the output can be quite remarkable. So while I talk about 30% time saving, I think it's important for me to also mention that for our clients, we have been able to add about 5 to 7% additional revenue. Now, these revenue are coming from clients which have a much higher value compared to the average customer value. So better quality customers through, again, the Google, Meta, Klaviyo, and so on. And the second one is we have been also able to reactivate the long tail as well. Some SKUs had not really uh, generated any revenue for some clients in the last 12 months. We have been able to identify customers who have purchased those particular SKUs which had not generated any revenue in the past 12 months. So we have been able to an extent reactivate dormant SKUs as well. And I think that to an extent communicates or conveys what our entire thesis is, Aaron, about how I think responsible AI should be. One, there would be efficiency gains if you really do it right, because humans plus AI will always beat out just humans, right? Because a lot of the tasks that we are done effectively, literally can be done much better and much quickly compared by AI technologies. Obviously, you have to build your own RAG layer to ensure the privacy part, etc. But rather than just letting go of that workforce, can we really rethink of that entire model and really create economic value through maybe different new jobs which are created effectively and so on? Because that is, I think, going to be very important usage of responsible AI, which ensures that no one is really left out. So there has to be a very clear focus and emphasis in our company about the human face of AI as well. Uh, so yeah.
Yeah, it's just interesting to hear that you basically have an R&D lab now that's
Yeah.
working on. And so a couple of things come to mind there. Is one is from an agency standpoint, I don't know if you're not doing this as an agency, how you're around either on efficiency, or there's a couple of things you can do with the efficiencies, right? Which is, hey, I can hand money, I can
Yeah.
overall reduce the cost of my services, or I can invest that, keep costs the same, invest in this R&D to make sure that, center to make sure that I'm staying on top of the newest trends that are coming out there.
Yeah.
That's up to the brand to decide which agency they would like to go with. But I mean, that has to be the new model, because
Has to be the new one. Exactly.
you have to. I don't in everything, like I was joking kind of at the beginning. It's like we used to do that quarterly update on e-commerce and
Yeah.
what's going on. It might be, if we were to do it in the technology side now, it would be every single month, if not every 3 weeks.
Exactly.
Because I don't see it slowing down.
Not at all. It will actually go up, significantly as well.
Yes, especially with how many people are now coming around to the fact that they're going to have to use it, right? That you literally have to. If you're not, you will be left behind.
Exactly. So I'll share with you maybe about 2 or 3 interesting stats/facts as well, what we are seeing. The first one is, I believe applied AI is hitting some sort of an exponential curve. When I say applied AI, the LLMs have really become extremely powerful. And they are hitting an exponential curve in terms of the application areas, where literally every minute, probably, there are hundreds of new applications which are coming up utilizing AI. Right? So it just purely, the law of numbers means that even if 1 out of every 10,000 applications succeed, that can potentially disrupt the space, right? So we are seeing even a giant. I mean, we have been a premier partner of Google for, I don't even know as to how many years. And we sit in the Google agency leadership circle. And we are seeing even a company almost like, which is now actually interestingly fighting its anti-monopoly sort of a battle as well, specifically this month. They are struggling to preserve the core share of searches. For example, the share of searches already has exceeded beyond 13% of all searches. And we are projecting that specifically on the transactional searches, that number will be close to 1 out of 3 would be transactional searches, which will happen in either AI overviews, ChatGPT, Perplexity, or one of the chatbots. And it is not even search, it is probably more of a conversation and chatting and so on, right? And this is, if that can happen to a company of the size of Google, it definitely is happening to every brand and every business as well. So
Yeah.
that's one. That's how quickly things change. The second fact which I'm seeing is now I don't really speak to as many businesses as you executives, but I've really had a lot of long discussions with a lot of CEOs in e-commerce companies and so on. Uh, and I have been amazed as to how slow they have been in terms of adopting AI. And it's just purely, in my opinion, because of just one simple thing which everyone sort of misses out. And that simple thing is, the only way I can teach you to swim, Aaron, is to jump into the pool. I can give you all those YouTube videos. You can watch hours and hours of videos, but if you don't jump in and get your hands dirty, you're not going to figure it out. And people have this huge amount of hesitation to jump into the pool and start splashing around. So that's, I think, the second part as well, and which has really led to a huge opportunity, and also an area where agencies like NetElixir need to show more responsibility. That now we have the channel platforms, new channels are coming up, fragmentation is happening, exponential technology. So that is hit the exponential curve. And the folks are still sort of, it's almost like, feels like you are trying to race in a Formula One riding a bicycle, right? So understandably, you would sort of lose each and every time. There is just zero chances of your success. So I think the agency, we are slowly moving away from just this agency nomenclature into more of a strategic AI growth marketing partner, Aaron, because I think there is a hugely important requirement for the marketing departments across companies to get rewired and be AI first. So that AI marketing transformation is huge. And that's going to be required. And we are going to sort of need a lot of help of people who are going to have to jump in and help people to do that. We are sort of doing it with almost 50 plus of our clients. We are really helping them really at least create those structures internally so that they are able to succeed in this AI first world. Because we are seeing companies that just going out of business completely, right? And I keep on saying, when it can happen to Google, it can happen to you as well. I mean, it's just a massive threat. So those are, I think, the three things. The third one is more of the responsibility of, I think, folks who are the AI first. That's the reason we call ourselves the AI first agency, as I mentioned with. It so happens that we have a huge amount of expertise in the e-commerce side, and specifically in the mid-size e-commerce business, like 50 million to 500 million. That's the area that we operate in, annual e-commerce revenue, and we are very good at that. And we have the channel marketing expertise. So we are actually going into the customers' offices and really analyzing their email marketing workflows and doing the same thing that we have done internally at our end as well. And then
So are you, so when you say it's more of like, I totally agree with you. Like, I think you're obviously ahead of the curve here. Whereas these agencies transform, they're going to have to change over time.
Yeah.
Right. And it's what you're doing is great, is coming alongside and helping, like, hey, help us. We will help analyze your workflows, apply AI and how you'd use it. It's very interesting. I think the slow adoption that you mentioned is, hopefully this comes across the right way, and I'll explain a little bit. It's more like of an age thing.
Yeah.
Because if I apply myself to it, right, when the first computers came out, I mean, they were expensive. And all the technology we got, the new Discman when it came out, it was so easy to break. You didn't want to do anything extra to it.
Yeah.
The VCR when it came out, I'm aging myself here a little bit. The first computers, like, we got it. It was basically like, basically don't do anything because we don't want you to break it when we just spent $1,500 on it.
Yeah.
And so there's this whole thing that you're going to break it, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it, don't break it. And then just having a conversation with my oldest, who's a sophomore in college right now, like, his intention is like, no, you just push it till you break it. It's an interesting mindset. Nothing he's had has ever had he worried about breaking. And if it was technology outside of his phone, it was cheap to replace.
Exactly.
And so it's a different mentality. it's a different mentality that has to be put in there to just say it's okay to go in and try to break it. Like you're not, I mean, in reality, you're not breaking
Yeah.
ChatGPT, right? You're
Yeah.
OpenAI, you're not breaking it.
Yeah.
But there's 2 decades of learning that needs to be unlearned. And
Yeah.
what would be interesting is there this core group of probably like 25 to 35-year-olds
Mm-hmm.
that over the next 5 years, we just see absolutely skyrocket within
Yeah.
organizations because
Yeah.
they're outperforming everybody
Mm-hmm.
because they're willing to try to break it and do something
Yeah.
different.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think there would be a very important component if you really look at it. That's the responsible part I talk about, Aaron, as well, right? So on one side, you have the fresh out of college folks who are very comfortable in terms of breaking stuff and trying out new things. But on the other side, there are folks, let us say at my age group, the Gen Xers, who have a much higher resistance in terms of to change, right?
Mhm.
Now, I think someone has to bridge the gap. And that's where I think the responsibility of partners like us becomes extremely important. So you started with the question as to how do companies identify those companies which are able to really help. So I would say that focus on 3 things. Do they really have that patience to really partner with you through this entire terms of transformation without really overwhelming you, scaring you, or breaking your business? Right? It has to be a smooth transition because currently, if you were to just go ahead and break it, a lot of things will get disrupted and it will be crazy, right? But how can you really break maybe the exponential curve into a series of steps? Let us take those small steps, right? So think of a exponential curve, and then if you really how to break it down into small steps, someone has to really sort of hold your hand and take you through. Let us do the first step. Let us go to the second step, and so on and so forth. I Probably, I think maybe a bad analogy would be when, let us say, ERP or SAP was getting implemented, right? Companies were already writing processes, everything was manual, and they came in and they sort of just let the entire field of enterprise resource planning came in, right? So almost like that sort of thing. The only thing is here the speed, the inflection point already has happened and things are changing at a much faster pace. So it's important to really select partners who can really hold your hand and who are knowledgeable experts who can really take you through each step. And the second thing is someone has really built and invested in their own technology and innovation. So those are, I think, the 2 criteria I would definitely highlight.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest questions I get is, okay, AI, what's step one? And there's
Exactly.
2 things that happen in especially larger organizations, the bigger you get. One is, what is step one? And even if you're internally and you identify what is step one,
Yeah,
you're internal and everybody questions the internal
exactly.
person. Whereas you bring in an outside agency, right?
Yeah,
If you bring in an outside consultant, somebody that's dealt with, 80, 100, whatever
right,
other companies,
right.
then everybody feels a lot better about taking step one. And maybe that's what you're
Exactly.
talking about, like holding people's
Exactly.
hands, right? It's like,
And I think we went through the same process as well, Aaron, at our company, right? Because it was I mean, we have been doing it for 20 years. There have been people who have been working with us for 17 years now, right? So it is scary, right? Because when you're asking someone to unlearn
yeah,
stuff, but there are 2 ways of doing it. Either you sort of just force it on people, or you say this is what is that one thing that we can all agree on? One thing that we can all agree on is basically the output or the outcome. This is what we want to achieve. At the end of it, we want our Google advertising program to succeed. And success means this, right? Then we are talking about can we currently, what is the path to success? And are there alternate paths to success? That's where the workflows come in. That's part 2, right? The first thing is what is the outcome and the output you are looking at, right? And then really work back and let us analyze as to how exactly are you achieving that level of success or outcome. So outcome is one area. Once you start with this, I think everyone is on the same page because you are getting the outcome now as well. So we are not really asking you a dramatic change. I mean, you are sort of recruiting people, maybe HR. That is recruitment is still the outcome. Like how can I get the best person, right person in the right seat, right? Essentially, that's the outcome. So there is no difference in outcome. And once you start by what is called the literally a positive affirmation, you're just almost like, they say, yeah, we are all sort of agreed on this thing. Cool. Oh, you're talking about outcome. I get it. Then say that now you show your knowledge. How exactly are you achieving the outcome? And they are very happy to brag it, right? Because that's the standard operating procedure that has been followed for 20 years and all this stuff, right? So this is how we have been achieving the outcome. Then the third step is where you really pose the challenge. Is there maybe another workflow or 2 workflows which can achieve the same outcome for a lesser number of steps. So that you're essentially challenging them to really optimize. There is no talk about AI, by the way, all this while, right? And identifying as to what are the steps. And someone sort of comes in, yeah, I've been able to crack it. We have been able to sort of do it with 2 less steps. Someone else says 5 less steps. Okay, let's do that, right? Now you tell us which are those works that you absolutely hate doing. And these are the manual stuff. We take a lot of time in building the agenda, doing this reporting, analysis, etc. So why don't we start with this and let us see if AI can be applied there. Correct. So it just is a step-by-step way to getting to everyone's buy-in and keeping everyone involved in the entire process as well.
Yeah. This is too cool, my friend. This is too cool. We have to do another whole episode because I see we're getting the time here.
Yeah.
On what is vetting out, what does an RFP look like for an agency of the future, right? Because
I think it's an AI agent asking all the companies that sort of work in and filling the question. It's the same thing as recruitment, right? So typically there are a lot of AI-based recruiters which are effectively taking in the information that you want, and they're asking questions, right? And they can be pretty smart recruiters. Again, you build the right technology, use the information that you really want to feed in, et cetera, et cetera. The RFP is the same thing. You're sort of, okay, we are, rather than putting the RFP, which is a significant waste of time in most of the cases, right? It just does nothing other than really sort of justify to the CFO that we have really gone through this process. There is a smarter way of doing things.
we've gotten 3 or 4 different, even though we picked at the start who we wanted to go with.
Exactly. So I think then...
And we guided our favorite to the path.
Exactly.
With the right, so that it made
so
the
I
most.
think there is an AI agentic way which is much smarter. Let us just put it that way, right? I'll give you an example. So we are pretty tight with Rutgers. So we recently had a bunch of Rutgers interns along with their professors do an externship program. So one of the professors asked me, she runs this program. She asked me as to what is your advice for the new grads, right? And what do you think is the future? I said that, I mean, advice, I don't know, but typically the future that I can see is people are not hiring you. People are not hiring Aaron or Udayan. They are hiring Aaron plus Aaron's chatbot, right? So I am hiring you and your agent. I am hiring Udayan and Udayan's agent. And the agent would have to be built by you and me and everyone else. So I was having this great conversation with the director of the MS MBA program in NYU Stern. And he was like so shocked by this. He said, don't we need a resume? I'm like, yeah, we don't need a resume. What do you need the resume? It basically is just sort of getting on these chatbot interviews where you are taking, and this is the agent that I have built. There is a problem that I'm trying to solve. It all sort of boils down to that as well. So if you really use that analogy in the RFP process as well, what does the RFP do? It just has filling out all the stuff, etc. I mean, you can get most of the information using ChatGPT. Right. So it becomes important that you really do all these generative engine optimizations. Maybe we can have a separate chat only on that to ensure that you're featuring in the right conversations, et cetera, et cetera. But other than that, I mean, that's pretty much it. I mean, it's all available in the internet. So then if you have done this research, why do you have to ask those questions again? Right? Why don't you really create a bot and schedule anyone who wants to participate in the RFP, just raise your hand, fill in this form, and we'll really create a bot interview for you or an AI agentic interview for you, and where you sort of discuss and present. Yeah. It's a whole new world. We have to think, I think.
No, you blew me away with
outside the box.
We got to have a few more. You blew me away with you're hiring a person plus
your agent that you have built, AI agent. And now with all this cursor, lovable and all this stuff, you can really build an agent very quickly, right? Which solves the problem that you are really passionate about. Because I really want to kind of hire people who are passionate about solving problems that we are trying to solve as well. So that's the part. Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. Well, this has been absolutely amazing, my friend. And we have to do another one because I want to go in because I told you, like my oldest is a sophomore this year. He's got a couple of years left. Yep. He's a business major. But what does that even mean these days? And what does it look like? And how do you put yourself at the top? And I know a lot of people in the network that listen in have kids or, in high school or in college. I'd love to hear that part as well. But also, dive a little bit deeper around that RFP process that you were talking about. And then when you're building it out from a brand standpoint, what are the questions you ask as a whole? But man, we are over time, but we're going to set up another one of these. Udayan, thanks so much, my friend.
Thank you very much, Aaron.
And
would it be possible for me to get a recording of this podcast sometime?
100%. Yes, 100%.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And it'll probably post in just a few weeks. So
sure.
Thanks, my friend.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely.
Get some rest.
Yes.
Take care. Bye.
Thanks for everybody for listening. That wraps up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive.